Have you ever had a really good season on Etsy or in your business and come to the end of it and thought, yes, I have some spare cash. Then a month or two later, you look in your bank account and realize it's all gone and you're not entirely sure how or where. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks to change your spending habits for the better. Keep watching this video. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we're kind of changing it up a little bit and we're going to be talking about how to change your unhealthy spending habits. Now, I am mostly referring to this in a business sense, but this does actually help you in your personal finance life as well, as it has helped me. Now, something that I did the first 2 or 3 years that I was in business, and if you don't know, I am a handmade business seller. I'm a top 1% seller on Etsy, 6-figure seller, whatever, all the good things. But my first couple of years on Etsy, I remember distinctly making a lot of money at Christmas time, coming to like the beginning of February and realizing it had actually all gone. And that was actually due to some seriously unhealthy spending habits. And it is something that, you know, we are in a world where not only are we competing for people's attention with adverts and social media and things like that, but we're also competing for money. You know, it's never been easier to overspend than it has now. There is a lot of research that actually says that, you know, people are overspending, and it is something that is a truth, which is this. If you make more money, you will naturally find more expenses to actually use up that reserve of money. So let's say, for example, that you earn £100 a month. I know this isn't a real example, but let's just go with it. So let's say, for example, that you earn £100 a month and your expenses come to £80 a month. And you have £20 a month sort of free to spend. Naturally, what's going to happen is that you're always going to be saying, oh, I haven't got enough, I haven't got enough. Let's say that you earn £1,000 a month. You will naturally increase your expenses to £1,000 a month, whether that's going and getting a new car on finance, or going and getting a new fancy watch, or going and leasing a new machine, or whatever it is. You're always going to be taking up that gap in your finances versus your income versus expenditure. It is something that is true. I can't think what the actual name is for the law, but it is something that is true. You will always find something to spend your spare money on. And it is something that is a little bit of an issue, to be honest, in today's world. We do all overspend. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you some really simple tips and tricks that can alter your unhealthy spending habits and actually help you to reach your financial goals a little bit faster.
I'm interrupting my very own video to bring to you the news that there is a brand spanking new webinar. This webinar is called How to Increase Your Etsy Conversion Rate. It is literally the most helpful webinar training I have ever created. So it is completely free. If you go in the link in the description box below, you can secure your place in this live training webinar. I cannot wait to see you in there, and let's get back to the video.
So the first thing is, don't shop with people that influence you in a negative way. Don't go shopping with those friends that always say to you, go on, buy the dress, buy the skirt, buy the shoes, buy the handbag. Those people are not really pushing you towards your financial goals. They're more pushing you to have fun right now and spend money, which is very important for you to have fun. But at the same time, it's not all about spend all the time. So either don't go shopping with these people, or suggest going to something like a movie or bowling or something that takes up your time as opposed to shopping. What I would say is to maybe limit the amount of time that is actually spent with these friends that do encourage you to spend. The second thing is to make a list of impulse purchases that you actually regret. And this is something that I did, and it was a real eye-opener. I had about 5 real impulse purchases that I do regret, and some of them were like £1,000 plus. So it is definitely worth making a list of impulse purchases that you actually regret, and this will be a big eye-opener for you and hopefully stop you from making the same mistakes again. The third thing is, if I am pondering a big purchase and it is a definite maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, and you're in that kind of space where there are some moments where you're leaning more towards yes and some moments when you're leaning more towards no, a rule that I have is to always sleep on it, at least for a night, maybe even two. And the chances are that actually by day 3 or 4, you might have even forgotten about it. So that is something that I would recommend you do, is to definitely come away and sleep on it. It can be very, very easy, especially when we are in the store or talking to the person that is going to help to sell us this particular item. It's very, very easy when you're in the store to just impulse and say, yes, I'm going to do it. And actually what some stores do, you know, having worked in the jewelry industry myself, which is obviously a very high pressure sales environment, it was something that we almost kind of pushed the customer into kind of buying it there and then, because, you know, you sat them down, you gave them a glass of champagne, you had the white gloves, you presented it to them as if it was the best thing ever. And it was a very high pressure sales environment. So what I would say is to come away, sleep on it, and have a think about it first before you make that decision. The fourth thing is to don't visit stores that tempt you. Now, we all have those stores that we know every time we go in there, we're going to buy something. For me, it's places like the Disney store and Lush. I absolutely love Lush bath bombs and I absolutely love Disney. I'm Disney mad. So for me, if I go into Lush, I know I'm going to come out with a purchase of some kind, whether it's like a £5 bath bomb or a £50 face cream. Whereas again, if I go in a Disney store, I'm going to come out with a purchase. So what I would say is to eliminate temptation. Don't go into these stores that are going to tempt you into buying. You must really identify what those stores are and really try your best to stay away. Now, if they're running a sale and if you want to go in and just have a little browse, that's dangerous. There's no such thing as window shopping, to be honest with you, especially when it comes to your trigger stores. So really the best thing to do is to just completely put your blinders on and not even look, or maybe even go to shopping centres or malls or high streets where this shop doesn't exist. I know it's probably tricky with things like Lush and Disney store, but definitely try to avoid temptation. The fifth thing is to unsubscribe from newsletters and email notifications. Now, we all have those apps on our phones that put a little ping up on our iPhone screen when they're having a sale, when there's new items added to a sale, or when there's like a 20% off code, ends midnight or whatever. Unsubscribe from them all. That is something I actually do every single January. So I go through my inbox and I get rid of everything that's temptation for me, because in reality, I don't want to spend money on inconsequential things. I want to spend the money on things that is going to impact my business in a really, really positive way. And that is not a diamond ring, that is not a Disney DVD, that's not any of those things. And I know that I'm sounding really, really strict and really, really boring right now, but actually I'm not saying don't ever have fun. What I'm saying is that there comes a time where you have to like put a stop to it. And if you've done that and you're still spending, then there is a problem somewhere, and you need to make sure to unsubscribe from any temptation. The same as point 4 when I said about, you know, avoiding all of these stores that are going to tempt you into buying something. The same can be done online, and email notifications and, you know, app notifications are all there to tempt you at the end of the day. So definitely unsubscribe from them all if you're finding it just too tempting. The sixth thing is to actually have a look at this item in terms of how many sales will I have to make to pay for this. And this is something that's really, really interesting. Have a look at something, and if it's £300, let's say, how many of your crocheted items or your stickers or your t-shirts will you have to sell in order to pay for that item? And it might actually make it seem a little bit less tempting when you realise you have to make 20 sales in order to pay for that item. It might actually make you sit and think, the value of this item does not equate to the amount of time and effort I'm going to have to make to create those 20 items to fulfill those 20 sales. So it might help you to reframe the purchase in a more positive way. The next thing is to review financial goals regularly. And what I actually say to do is to review your goals daily. especially at weekends when we are tempted to go out to shops and have a look for things and kind of make impulse purchases. What I actually do is I set my goals as a little screenshot that is in my iPhone background, and I do make sure to create little alarm notifications, especially for weekends. It just says something simple like, remember your financial goal. One of my financial goals is to actually start my property portfolio going. It is something that was supposed to be done last year, but obviously COVID and everything hit and it just was a big no-go. But it is something that this year I really want to focus on, starting my property investment portfolio. So that's something that is a big goal for me, that is going to involve me taking some sacrifices and taking some things off the table. So make sure to have a look at your financial goals regularly, because that will just remind you, and it will also really put the reason why you're doing this in your head, because sometimes it can be a little bit dull and not very fun to have to save and budget and not do anything and buy anything fun. So it is just really important to make sure that you do remind yourself why on a regular basis. The next little tip is to make it fun and have no spend days and no spend weeks. This is something I haven't done for a while. I am going to hold my hand up and say I haven't done this for a little while, but it is actually a real fun challenge to have no spend week. And I'm not saying obviously don't buy food and bread and milk and things like that, but I am saying is have no spend weeks where you don't spend on anything unnecessary. And it is actually quite a fun challenge. It can make you think of some creative ways to come up with entertainment, and maybe you leverage your cashback that you haven't cashed in on your top cashback account, or your Honey Amazon vouchers. It kind of makes you think of creative ways to buy things if you really feel like you need them, and just make it a rule that on such and such a week, between this date, between that time, you're not going to spend anything at all. And it is actually like a real fun little challenge to do. The next thing is to budget, and this isn't like a real boring budget. This is actually quite fun. So what I am leaning towards doing, and I haven't actually done this myself, but it is something that I have had in my head for a while to actually do, is to set a budget for, say, the grocery shopping, okay? And if you hit under that, so let's say your goal is £100 a month for your grocery shop, if you go £80 to actually use the excess for something fun. And what that will do is that will actually encourage you to really try your best to go under your budget, to go under your spending goal. And, you know, it's kind of a bit of a leverage for yourself, so that if you go under that budget, if you go under the £100, you have £20 or however much is left to spend on something fun. And it is something that sounds like a really good idea, and something that I'm likely to actually implement in my own life. And it just makes sure that you still have that fun part, but it still challenges you to kind of really bargain hunt and really kind of shop below your means. And the very last thing is, don't try to keep up with the Joneses. And there is a very famous quote by Will Smith, and I absolutely love it. And it is, too many people spend money that they don't have on things that they don't want to impress people that they don't even like. And that quote kind of epitomizes keeping up with the Joneses, okay? And a big thing to do is to identify why you do this. Why do you feel the need to keep up with your friends, with your next door neighbours, with your other family members? Why do you feel the need to do that? Is it because you feel inadequate? Is it because you don't feel confident enough in your own abilities as a human and as a business owner even? Why is it that you do this? And it's really important for you to actually identify why you do these things, to combat it, to make sure that you don't do it anymore. Because no matter how much you try, if you are trying to prove a point to someone in your life or even to yourself, it's going to be really even harder for you to stop the impulse buying and the keeping up with the Joneses purchases. So definitely something worth exploring for yourself. So guys, I do hope that video was really helpful for you. And there is also the Handmade Bosses Success Academy if you want to make sure that you start your Etsy journey, your side hustle journey on the right foot. This is for serious Etsy sellers to make serious money on Etsy. So the link to those two are in the description box below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. But for now guys, I shall catch you in the next video. Bye everyone.